Hello, I'm Sudarshan of Starshine Star, and I hope this finds you very well indeed. It is Monday, it is August 19th, and it's still 2024. I begin all of my clips with the three opening prayers, which are in Sanskrit and Telugu, and they're short. It's the Guru Mantra, the Ganesha Mantra, and the Gayatri Mantra. And I do this to bless and protect, uplift, and sanctify you, me, and this clip. Om, 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 Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam, Tasmahi Sri Guru Vena Namaha. Om Suklam Bharataram Vishnu Sishivarnam Chatubhujam Prasanavaranam Dhyaye Sarva Vigno Prashantaye Om Bhurabhuva Suvah Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. All right, I have something to read to you, and then I have something to speak about. And if any of you are feeling too quivery and that you just can't take hearing some truth that has a strong edge to it, then just stop listening now. But this truth is going to be known sooner rather than later by everyone in the world, or most people in the world, because there will still be a percentage that will put their fingers in their ears and go, la, 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 I can't hear you, I'm not listening. This is from Jack Straw, a blue checkmark account on X at JackSTR4267, but on TikTok, Sindid 2024 on TikTok is also passing this around. I'm on TikTok at Mahakali Yeshua 9. That's my TikTok channel name, and my username is at StarshineStar909. I also have a YouTube channel. It's The Dazzling of the Light, where you can just go to YouTube and type at Sudarshan of Starshine Star to access well over 100 clips that I have there. It has a lot of good content. I think you'll enjoy checking it out. So once again, this is from Jack Straw. Russian soldiers are describing finding children with frail, emaciated bodies hooked up to intravenous drips while their bodies were expertly drained of blood and adrenal fluid for the global adrenochrome trade. The adrenochrome industry in Ukraine is larger than previously expected, and Putin is determined to use the leads generated to destroy the global adrenochrome supply chain and punish those committing crimes against the children, including the politicians and celebrities who are hooked on the drug he calls the devil's work. According to a member of the adrenochrome task force, these factory farms are the sites of ritual sexual abuse, physical degradation, and psychological torture. You know, I thought I'd seen it all. I've been in combat for years, seen comrades fall, dealt with the worst humanity has to offer, but nothing could compare me for what we found in Donetsk. And if I'm mispronouncing that, it's Donetsk. We were told we'd be liberating children. I didn't understand the scale of what that meant until we got there. We were clearing out this complex, a grim place, like a gulag or a Nazi death camp, but worse, much worse. The walls were gray, cold, and damp. The air, it stank of decay and something nauseating, something I can't describe. And then we found them, the children. They were like ghosts, skin and bones. Their bodies, they looked frail, almost transparent. I could see the outlines of their ribs, every bone in their tiny little hands. They had tubes coming out of them, tubes that drained their blood, their adrenal fluids. For what? For some sick trade. some twisted demand from the West. There were hundreds of them just lying there in rows of metal cots. No blankets, no warmth. They didn't even flinch when we burst in. No fear, no hope, just emptiness in their eyes. Some were too weak to even look at us. They were so used to the pain, the torment, they didn't even react. And the worst part, the youngest, some of them couldn't have even been more than 2 years old. Babies, really. We found out later that they were bred for this. Raised in captivity like livestock, just to be drained of everything that made them human. The ones they couldn't sell, the ones who weren't, quote, pretty enough or, quote, obedient enough, were sent to these farms. Farms, as if that's what you could call those hellholes. And that's from Julian Assange's WikiLeaks drop. And what I want to say, I'm not going to on this clip. You can go and look on my YouTube and find out clips from a series that I call The Controllers and listen to what I have to say about history that everyone in the world should know and will be, like I said before, the truth will come in its entirety sooner or later, much sooner rather than later. But for the people who are still foolish enough to believe that Russia invaded Ukraine, despite the tremendous amount of evidence that is available, photographic evidence, research evidence, everything, if one just stops watching television and relying on mainstream media to program them and to tell them what is real. And I almost have no regard for the people at this point that are so willfully ignorant. Do you know the karmas of this world, that when one chooses to ignore evil so foul when it's right under one's nose because one wants to continue to Netflix and chill, or continue with one's, quote, 9 to 5 or regular activities, saying, oh, I don't have time for all of this. I'm too busy with my business. I'm too busy with blah, 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 blah. Well, those beings will share in these karmas because this evil must be addressed. It must be known, a light must shine on it, and it must be cleaned up. And that is happening now. But unfortunately, there's still too many sleeping people in this earth realm. You know, I've said this in my controllers clips, but I'll repeat this a little bit again. The evils, the satanic evils, the children of Cain, the seed of the serpent, the ancient ones that have held sway over humanity for a very, very long time. They originally came out of ancient Sumer and Babylon, and then migrated into, really they went everywhere, but into different parts of Europe and Asia, and then finally, after the 1700s, into the United States area. But these children of Cain, these satanic beings, were the ancient royal houses of Sumer and Babylon, so they were very wealthy. But because they're so foul, because of their satanic practices, because they worship Moloch and Baal and throw live infants into the fire and for sacrifice to these to their satanic idols, and they also are they're more than pedophiles. They're pedivores. They not only believe it's their right to, and they have things I can't go into in this clip, but there's certain very specific reasons why, besides liking to do it, why they are pedophiles to infants and babies. Even infants that are coming out of their mother's womb are sodomized and raped while they're coming out of the mother's canal. There's so much foulness, but I can't go in depth here, but I will say that there's something that they're doing very specifically about that in regards to their worship of Satan. And but they're also pedivores. They eat the infants and babies and children. And this is not rare. It's very, very common, and it has been hidden from us. We've been asleep. for too long, and we didn't know what was right underneath our eyes, and we didn't know that the 800,000 just in the United States that are named, the 800,000 children that go missing every year that are just acknowledged, much less the ones that are not acknowledged, that we've seen on the milk cartons, that they used to be on the milk cartons on our breakfast table. We didn't know, those children were never found, and we didn't know that those milk cartons, rather than showing the faces and information about, quote, missing children, those were actually advertisements. Those children were actually in captivity and being advertised like cookies in a bakery for sale to the vile satanic evils and their minions that would purchase them and know where to find them and to acquire them and do all their things to them. Adrenochrome has been used for thousands of years. It's nothing new. It has many properties besides giving youth. It gives incredible brain power and different things that the evils really like to use, but they need to use it because they cut off their creative source. They're linked to Mother, Father, God. By their own will, they cut that off. So they need to use humans and different things like adrenochrome, adrenochrome is what happens to the blood when a human, but they use babies and children for this, but when a human is tortured beyond belief, and adrenaline begins to flood the blood and begins to flood the human system, at that point they extract that adrenalized blood, which is called adrenochrome, and they also cut out, while the baby or child is still alive, the pineal gland, which they call the walnut, and they eat that. That's a delicacy for them. And adrenochrome, I stopped counting after 40,000 hours of research, so I'm not going to put up one bit with anyone who wants to say that I'm talking about opinion here. I can't share with you all the research that I've done, and I shouldn't need to. People should be doing their own independent research, using independent browsers, not Google and Wikipedia, but independent browsers that might actually get them some information. I've seen the pictures, I've seen the documents, I've seen the declassified information, I've seen the analog, not digital photos of such unspeakable things. I've heard the witness testimony, I've listened to the deathbed confessions, I've listened to the whistleblowers, I've listened to the children. It's real. So how this is linking to Russia, to get back to what I wanted to say and finish this with, is that these evils, in the 800s, the king of Russia gave them a very strong warning, because he and the peoples of Russia were sick of these devils, these satanics, killing everyone, doing their ritual sacrifices, worshiping Satan, raping the children, eating the children, putting the children in the fire, stealing from everyone, stealing identities, robbing the pilgrims that were on their way on the Silk Road to go to the Holy Land to do their pilgrimages, and they would be completely raped and robbed, and all their goods taken and their identities stolen. So then they would have their property stolen and their name stolen, and this was a common practice. So in the 800s, the king of Russia told them, you have to stop this Satanism, or you're going to be completely kicked out of this land, and you must choose between being a Muslim, Christian, or the Jewish faith, or really the Hebrew faith. And so these fakers, they pretended to choose to be Hebrew. Now I have to distinguish between Jewish and Hebrew, because the word Jewish has covered a multitude of sins, and these satanics from that time, this large group, have pretended to be, they call themselves Jews, so they pretend to be Hebrew. They pretend to follow the Hebrew faith, which there are many goodly and godly Hebrews, and they're doing their best to follow their faith that they believe brings them to God and helps them in their lives. But these are satanics that just completely mask themselves as if it were Halloween, and they put on a costume and they say, hey, I'm a Jewish person. And they wear yarmulkes and they go to temple, and but inside their homes and in their secret meeting places, something very different is occurring. So this is what the world needs to wake up to. It's not being anti-Semitic to expose this. They're called Khazarian Mafia, or KM. because they never stopped their Satanism. And it was finally in the 1700s that the Russian Tsar then completely booted them all out of the area of Russia at that part that was called Khazaria, which is present-day Ukraine. You might be understanding the links now. So these Khazaria mafia, these fake Jews, these satanics, these children of Cain bloodline beings have been wanting to get their revenge on Russia ever since. And they did do that with the Russian Revolution, with the satanic Bolsheviks and the things they did to the Romanovs and what they affected and brought in the Soviets and brought in Marxism is Satanism. Marx was a Satanist. Lenin was a Satanist. Just do not even a centimeter of digging, of research, and you'll find that out. So anyway, this part that the evils have been trying to declare back as their homeland, this part of Khazaria, which is present-day Ukraine, they had such plans for it. And this is very much tied into the evils that took control of my country, the United States, in 1871 and turned it into a corporation. It used to be the United States for America, and it was shown with regular capitalization, and it was turned into a title of all caps, which means a corporation, and it was called the United States of America. The Constitution was altered. All Americans became chattel, became slave chattel, owned by this corporation, and I've spoken about that at length. You have to go into my YouTube channel and see my clips about this. But in Ukraine, they were calling it the United States of Ukraine. That was the plan for it. And in 2014, that's when the NAZI that had been there for so long, real, not Neo, real NAZI, called the Azov and other things, made their bid in the elections in Ukraine in 2014. They completely stole it and took over and installed themselves. And this was like the final push for, the evils and their minions, what they had planned for so long, to make that spot, along with another place in the Silk Road in Central Asia, their great satanic capitals. And there's incredible DUMBs, DUMBS, deep underground military bases there, endless tunnels that are very ancient, a huge hub of child sex trafficking, human trafficking. The biolabs were there that were putting out all the bio diseases and creating terrible things because they're part of their eugenics plan is to shrink the world population from 7.8 billion down to only 500 million, as is evidenced if you look up the Georgia Guidestones. Anyway, and there were, huge money laundering operations there, and just so much mess going on. So Russia did not invade Ukraine. Putin, who is, as I've spoken before about in my other clips, is a Putin 2.0. The original Putin, which you can go back and look to see when the Vladimir Putin's first wife divorced him, and I believe that was in 2014. That was when the original Vladimir Putin, who was a very evil being, a sociopath, and the Russian people put him down. He had a trial, which I've shown years ago so many photos of, and he was convicted, and he doesn't live anymore. And so then an actor, a Putin 2.0, popped up, and when that actor went to, I believe Putin's first wife's name was Ludmila, she knew that wasn't her husband, and she said, "That's not my husband," and she refused to let him in the house, and she divorced him and remarried. So go back to that point and look at pictures of the Vladimir Putin pre-2014 and post-2014, and you'll see two very different men. So this Vladimir Putin, this 2.0, is working with President Trump for the White Hat Global Military Alliance, as we saw very officially in 2018 when they had a conference in Helsinki on July 16th, when Putin passed the red and white World Cup soccer ball to President Trump and said, "Oh, here, Mr. President, the ball is in your court now." Putin 2.0 has been doing a huge cleanup of the evils and the negatives, and getting rid of all this underground tunnels and all these biolabs and these DUMBs and these child farms underneath the ground that are so foul, and so much stuff. So all these people that believe that it was that Russia was being a big baddie and trying to attack Ukraine. They have their facts completely upside down. I'm going to be doing in my controller series, even though, gosh, it will take a while, something I've been forestalling, but it's time to do it. I want to do expose what the protocols of Zion, or the protocols of the elders of Zion are, and how that's linked to Russia, and how that exposes more of what I'm saying. And they were declassified some years ago. Now you can go from the FBI vaults. You can go and see them for yourself. So don't give me that malarkey that this is just a theory. This is just some pamphlets printed up mistakenly in 1905 by a Russian trying to expose what was going on by these Khazarian mafia, these satanic beings, these fake Jews, and what their plans for the world really has been and have been. And even Henry Ford gave a quote. Let's see. Henry Ford gave a quote about this in an interview on February 17th in 1921 in the New York World. Mr. Henry Ford, expressing himself in regard to the protocols, said, "They fit in with what is going on. They have fitted the world situation up to this time. They fit it now." And I'm going to go into that in other clips. I'm going to end this clip now with the closing prayer. What I'm saying is, God bless all beings in all worlds. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yes, peace, peace, peace. It all begins with inner peace. And no matter how much we are battling this darkness, this evil, we have to maintain our inner peace. We can't have chaos within us, because it's not possible to have peace in what we call outside of us when we're in turmoil and chaos and strife inside of us. So peace, peace, peace. I'm sending huge love to you and yours. God bless you and yours. I will see you when I see you, and bye-bye for now.